Emotions and mentality are two things that seem to go hand in hand to the human body. Now, what do you mean now what I mean when I say this is that it's a thing that we all have. You feel something, your brain tries to process it and see whether you accept what's happening or you don't. Sometimes we all accept what's happened, especially when we're feeling it, especially in our emotions. We could choose to ignore it or just deal with it. And I hate to say that sometimes people don't deal with it. And before you all go and like sometimes things are best left in the dark, and I agree with you, but sometimes that very dark thing that you're supposed to leave in the dark can come back to haunt you. It can, especially if it has something to do with you literally bottling up your emotions for someone else's sake. And that's where the problem is. People are so focused on trying to make everyone else feel good that they were willing to destroy themselves in the process. Not physically, just mentally and emotionally destroy themselves just for the sake of other people to feel better. And that and I'm sorry to tell you all this if you don't believe it. Feel free to discuss your opinions, but I don't think that's a good thing. I don't think that's the best thing because yes, it's good for the other people, but what about you? Where does that leave you in the end? Where does where does it take you for you to actually feel better yourself? You don't feel anything. You don't feel any better because of what you did, what you had to do to make the other person feel better. And it's worse when you're trying to make someone feel better that doesn't deserve it. You just try and mentally and emotionally destroy yourself to make everybody feel better, or worse, the person who you shouldn't help make feel better is not even grateful to it, let alone acknowledges it, and you're stuck wondering if I did something wrong or could I do to do better. And I'm telling you this to just stop. Just take the time and think, is it worth it? I can tell you by personal experience that there were plenty of people that I kept my mouth shut and my emotions in check just so they can feel better. And let me tell you, it doesn't help. It made me worse. I was angry all the time. I was a little emotional. I was sad. I couldn't barely sleep because of it, or because of how strong my feelings were at the time and how I basically just processed this and chose to just bottle it up. That's not the greatest thing in the world, but the only problem is it's the easiest thing to do, and that's why people do it, because it's easy instead of just talking to somebody about it. Or worst case scenario, you're in a situation and the person that you're trying to talk to about it won't even listen to a damn thing you say. And that's probably the worst part about it. Is like when your emotions are being, I would say, not activated. I would say more of being triggered because of a person's actions or what they say. But because you don't want to get in a confrontation, you just bottle it up. Or worst case scenario, you don't want to debate about this. You just bottle it up. Let it eat you. And then when it does starts to eat you, you notice some changes and some things about you that you probably didn't think you were capable of. And that's where the root of the problem is. It's because you're trying to make people feel better. In all honesty, don't do it. Because what's the point of making them feel better when you're the one that's not going to feel better in the end? You're the one that's going to be stuck with the bag. You're the one that's going to get the emotional baggage that's going to become that way in due time. And you don't know what to do with it. All I got to say is speak your mind. Tell people how you feel about it. Don't do it for their sake, because at the end of it all, they gotta they gotta deal with shit just like you, regardless whether they like it or not. Just like you, they gotta deal with some problems. They gotta deal with stuff that's personal, or they have to deal with it. They have to deal with something. And if it involves both of you, why would you go out of your way to make that person feel better? Because what reason? I don't know. And more importantly, you shouldn't care, because you shouldn't harm your own mentality and your own emotions because somebody else feels some type of way about it. And I'm here to tell you is, be honest. Just say what you gotta say. Just say it with your chest out. It might not be the idealistic thing to do, but in the end, it works for both. You get to say what you have to say, what you feel like you need to say, and even though the person who you think life doesn't like to hear it, they have to hear it. Just because, how else are they gonna grow? How else are you gonna be growing in both emotionally and mentally? It's healthy for both parties. You just need that time and that place, and just rather deal with it now or maybe a little later on the time. But it has to be dealt with either way. And I'm not talking about me or anything else. I'm talking about in general. Because again, we are spending so much time and move out of our way to make others feel better while we are rotting on the inside. And I'm here to tell you this. Just speak your mind. The worst thing they can say to you is just say words. It's another thing if they put your hands on you. By all means, you have the right to defend yourself. But if words are just being exchanged, you got nothing to worry about, except when they try to get you at your emotions. Because again, your emotions are connected to your mentality. If you bottle up your emotions, your mentality is going to suffer for it, because it's messing you up in the head, because it is growing on you to the point where it's triggering emotions that are unwarranted. The last thing I want to say is, take care of your own emotions and mentality first. It's okay to want to make people feel better, and I will not blame you or judge you on that. But I do have a problem if it's hurting you. That's where you should have a problem too. If this is hurting you, by all means, do something about it. Don't just sit there and let it eat you up and people are wondering what's wrong with you. Say it. Even if they don't like it, just say what you gotta say. Trust me, you'll feel like a whole $1,000,000 bucks. And even though they don't like to hear what they're saying, they needed to hear it. They can process it how they ever want it, but it's better for your mentality and your mental health and your own emotional health. Because this is something that a lot of people are taking for granted, and people are just unknowing to the fact of anything. And it doesn't even have to be a confrontation of a person. People in sports, people in the military, people in any other entertainment industry are literally looked at as being an entertainer when everybody else is an entertainee. And if you tell them things that, like, I can't play, or I can't do this, or I can't do that, they'll label you as something negative because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing to entertain them or help them see what they honestly want. So look out for your own mentality and your own emotions, because you still matter. Whether they want to think it or not, you matter just as much as they matter. Don't let anybody tell you to keep your mouth shut and keep your emotions in check, because if something seems wrong to you, you say it. I'm not here to tell you to grow some balls or grow a spine. I'm telling you this, if you feel like something's wrong, you have to point it out, or at least say what's on your chest. That way you can feel better in the end. And if people don't like it, oh well. There's a lot of things that people are hearing and doing and they don't like, but they got to do it, right? They got to listen to it, right? So what makes them so special? No, nobody's special. Just be you. Just tell it like it is. Be honest. Sometimes the honesty is not the best policy to some people, but it is in a general base of your own emotions and mental health. Y'all take care, and please keep this what you're hearing to face value, and always just think of how what something made you feel and what you can do about it. And if you don't know what that is, find the source. And then when you do, simply say it. Tell it to somebody that's willing to listen. Have a good night. And please, take care of yourself.